The second I heard the front door click shut behind her, I opened the storage closet and pulled out the first box. I had labeled it 2 weeks ago. Kitchen, mine. Not ours. Mine. The blender, the skillet, the coffee grinder she never learned to use. I moved like a criminal. Quiet, methodical. Not because I was scared she'd catch me. She was already halfway to the airport, but because it felt like I was stealing my own life back. And maybe I was. I don't even know where to start. You ever feel like your entire marriage has been boiling slowly, like one of those frogs in the science metaphor, until one day you realize you're just soup? That was me. Stewing. Simmering. Waiting. I didn't plan to leave her while she was on her little girl's trip. But then she made that joke in the kitchen, the one that flipped the final switch. We were eating takeout, her idea, as usual, and I must have said something dumb like, "You've been traveling a lot lately," because she snorted and said, "Oh, come on, Lyle," as if you'd ever do anything about it. She didn't even look up from her phone, just stabbed another piece of tofu and kept scrolling. That's when I knew. She didn't respect me, not even a little. I was furniture, a guy who refilled the burrito, killed spiders, and agreed to everything. And I'll admit it, I was a coward. I let her treat me like a doormat with Wi-Fi. I let her roll her eyes during arguments and walk away like I was a push notification she could swipe away. But the second she left this morning, dragging her fake Louis Vuitton through the gravel like a war drum, something inside me shifted. I brewed coffee, the good stuff she says gives her migraines, and I packed every single thing I owned. Every sock, every receipt, every piece of dignity I could fit between stacks of manila folders and shattered expectations. I didn't cry. Not this time. I just packed. Her plane hadn't even landed when I unplugged the router. Halfway through boxing up the office, I found the envelope she never meant for me to see. It was wedged between old tax documents and a stack of glossy catalogs she used to mark with things we'd never afford. I wasn't looking for secrets. I just wanted to grab my passport folder, but my hand brushed the corner of something labeled confidential in red ink. For a second, I thought it was one of her work files. Marla's in PR, and she loves printing things just to make herself feel busy. But when I opened it, it wasn't a report. It was a printed itinerary. And not for Asheville. Not for the yoga and wine weekend I'd been told about 3 times. No, this was a reservation for a 2-person room at Hotel Nvidia, a boutique place in Miami, with a king bed and a champagne package labeled Romance Revival. The check-in date? Today. The name next to hers on the reservation? Carter V. I sat on the floor with that piece of paper in my lap for a good 5 minutes, just processing. Carter. I didn't know a Carter. Not in her circle. Not from work. Not from her Pilates class where she always came back, exhausted, but without a single drop of sweat. I didn't scream. Didn't throw anything. That's not me. I'm the guy who sends polite emails and doesn't honk in traffic. But I'll admit, something inside me cracked open like a window that had been painted shut for years. Cold, sharp air rushed in. Clarity. This wasn't just a one-time thing. This was organized. Planned. She had made a fool of me, not just emotionally, but logistically. Lied to my face, kissed me goodbye, and went off to have poolside mimosas with a man I didn't even know existed. You know what stings more than the cheating? The efficiency. The way she timed it between meetings. The way she packed light. The way she took my carry-on suitcase. I had to dig out the old one with the broken will just to leave this house like a ghost. I started moving faster after that. Not out of panic, out of purpose. I didn't want to be here when she got back. Not just physically, but spiritually. I didn't want her to walk into this space and find a single shred of the man she dismissed so easily. I emptied my side of the closet. Cleared every photo frame where I was smiling alone while she scrolled through her phone. I even took the damn burrito filter. And as I carried the boxes down to my car, one by one, I noticed something funny. The silence. Not the sad kind, the peaceful kind. The kind of silence you don't notice until it's been gone for years, hiding beneath arguments and passive-aggressive comments about not folding the towels right. By the time the sun dipped behind the neighbor's fence, my car was full. I looked at the house, our house, one last time. And for a moment, I wondered if she'd cry, if she'd panic, if she'd even care. But then I remembered her voice from 2 days ago, laughing on speakerphone. Oh please, Lyle would never leave. He's like a rescue dog, loyal, confused, and way too afraid of new things. So I left. I didn't go far that first night. Just a motel off Route 49 with flickering blue signage and a keycard that barely worked. It smelled like sadness and lemon disinfectant, but it was quiet. Nobody asked questions. I slid the boxes into the room, lined them up like miniature coffins, and sat on the bed with the stiffest mattress I'd ever felt. For a while, I just stared at the popcorn ceiling. Thought about nothing. Thought about everything. Then my phone buzzed. It was her boss. At first, I froze. I didn't answer. Just watched the screen light up with his name, Ethan J., VP Comms. I almost laughed. This man once told me I looked like the kind of guy who builds model trains. He meant it as a compliment, I think. Then he called again. This time, I picked up. I figured maybe he didn't know yet. Maybe Marla hadn't checked in with the office before taking her PTO in a Miami hotel with Carter V. Maybe he thought she was with family or at a silent meditation retreat like last time. I didn't even say hello. Ethan's voice came through the line sharp and impatient. "Where the hell is she?" he barked. "She told me the client dinner was handled. They just called me from the restaurant. No reservation. No presentation. Nothing." I blinked. Sat up. "What dinner?" I asked. There was a pause. "Who is this?" "Her husband," I said. Then, after a beat, "Or I was." He hung up. I just sat there, phone still to my ear, stomach churning like I'd swallowed gravel. I hadn't known about any dinner, any client. She told me she had taken vacation time. She had even joked about doing absolutely nothing but facial masks and rows. So what was that call about? I don't know what possessed me, but I logged into our shared cloud drive. We had one from back in the day, used to store travel documents, receipts, stuff like that. I hadn't touched it in years. I figured she hadn't either. I was wrong. There, sitting neatly in a folder titled Wellness Retreat, Q4, were PDFs, presentations, email drafts, a full schedule blocked out hour by hour, with someone named Carter Valencia. He wasn't just a fling. He was her business partner. Apparently, my wife, the woman who once mocked me for needing a spreadsheet to plan our honeymoon, had been building something. Secret meetings, travel expenses disguised as solo getaways, hotel invoices rerouted through a shell consulting agency I'd never heard of. They were launching something together. A startup. Branding. Influencers. There were even photos, her and Carter sitting side by side, her in a beige blazer, him looking like a startup poster boy, all teeth and fake humility. In one of them, she was wearing my scarf. That broke me more than I want to admit. Not the scarf itself, but the audacity. The quiet replacement of everything that used to be ours. I stared at those files long into the night. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt obsolete. Like someone had changed the locks on a life I helped build. So I started doing something I hadn't done in years. I started writing things down. I couldn't sleep that night. Not because I was grieving, not exactly. But because my mind wouldn't stop doing this thing. This obsessive inventory taking. You know that feeling when you realize a painting's crooked and suddenly every frame in the room feels off? That was my marriage. Once I noticed one lie, I couldn't stop tilting my head and spotting a dozen more. At 2:37 a.m., I opened my laptop and started making a list. Not a petty list. A forensic one. I typed out every trip she'd taken in the past 18 months. Every time she claimed to be at a seminar or a retreat or catching up with friends. I pulled the receipts. Checked the statements. Compared them to the calendar she'd forgotten was still syncing with mine. It was a bloodbath. Denver. Work conference. Carter was there. Charleston. Bachelorette party. Except the bride posted on Instagram that it was canceled due to COVID. Carter was tagged in her story from a beach. Austin. Her cousin's divorce party. Yes, that's a thing now apparently. Except I found a spa receipt with 2 massages billed under the same room. Hers and his. By the time I hit October of last year, I stopped feeling hurt. I just felt stupid. Like I'd been living in a shared hallucination. One she painted in careful strokes while I walked around like a background character in my own story. But the worst part wasn't the trips. It was what I found when I clicked into a Google Doc that had my name on it. Messaging framework, Lyle. At first, I thought it was an accident, some sort of content draft. But no, it was a document she made with Carter. It was about me. A breakdown of what I knew, what I didn't, how to manage my expectations, how to de-escalate questions, and what excuses I was most likely to believe. There were bullet points. Color-coded lies. A goddamn script. Avoid specifics. Play up his empathy. Use mental health framing. Say you're overwhelmed. If he brings up trust, remind him of how emotional he got during your mother's funeral. Flip the topic. I swear to God, I almost threw the laptop across the room. I don't know if you've ever read notes about yourself written by someone who's supposed to love you, but it feels like suffocating from the inside out. Like your lungs are suddenly full of glue. These weren't just lies. This was strategy. A campaign. I wasn't her partner. I was her liability. I sat there, shivering in a motel chair, trying to figure out how long she had seen me as an obstacle rather than a man. I thought about all the times I made excuses for her mood swings, defended her absences to my parents, told myself this is what growth looks like. Turns out it wasn't growth. It was an exit plan. And still, I hadn't told a soul. Not my friends. Not my brother. Not even my therapist, whom I hadn't seen in months because Marla said he was too negative. I felt like a man trapped inside a burning house, holding the door open for the woman who lit the match. But something in me shifted that night. Not rage. Not revenge. It was strategy. If she could build a secret life behind my back, I could build an escape right under her nose. And I knew exactly where to start. I woke up to the sound of leaf blowers outside the motel. Harsh, whiny, constant. Normally, I'd be annoyed. But that morning it felt poetic. Like something was finally being cleared out. Swept away. I didn't rush. I sat on the edge of the bed for a long time, just staring at my packed boxes, the coffee machine I stole from our kitchen, and my list, now titled Marla's Alternate Universe. Pages of notes. Screenshots. Dates. Lies. If I had burned it all, maybe I'd have felt better. But I wasn't after satisfaction. I was after silence, not revenge, not drama. Just that moment when someone realizes the ground beneath them has completely vanished. And you? You're already gone. So I started phase 2, disengagement. I shut down all the auto payments from my account. Netflix, Wi-Fi, the meal kits she never cooked. I transferred my half of the joint savings to a personal account she didn't know existed. One I'd set up 3 years ago when she mocked me for being paranoid about capitalism. I also called our landlord. Told him I'd be vacating the lease early. He sighed, probably assuming it was another pandemic divorce. I didn't explain, just said I'd be out within 48 hours and the security deposit was hers to keep. I didn't need her money. I needed distance. Then I logged into our shared Google Calendar and added one event. Surprise, you're alone now. 10 a.m. Monday. No description. No attachments. Just that. I almost deleted it. But no, she deserved one breadcrumb. Just one. I didn't answer her texts. They started with the usual. Lyle, where did you put the humidifier? Lyle, did you forget to Venmo for the wine subscription again? But by that afternoon, they shifted tone. Hey, weird question. Did you change the password to our Hulu? Lyle, seriously, are you mad or something? You've been off lately. I ignored all of it. Then came the phone calls. I let them ring. Voicemail. 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 The only time I picked up was when she tried FaceTiming me from what looked like a hotel room with pink wallpaper and beach towels in the background. I answered in complete darkness. Just held the camera toward the motel ceiling fan and said nothing. She stared at the screen. Lyle, are you okay? Why are you in the dark? I didn't say a word. After 40 seconds, she hung up. 2 hours later, she sent me a single message. I'm starting to freak out. Where are you? I smiled. Because finally, for the first time in years, she didn't know what I was thinking. And that was power. But it wasn't over yet. Because there was still one more place I needed to visit. I didn't want to go to her office. It wasn't fear. It was disgust. The idea of stepping into that cold glass building where she used to wear sarcasm like perfume and talk about personal branding like it was oxygen. But I needed closure. Not from her, from the fiction she built around me. That weird, curated version of Lyle she sold to everyone as the awkward, loyal puppy who just doesn't get ambition. I parked across the street and watched the building for 10 full minutes before I even stepped out of the car. No sign of her, obviously. She was still off with Carter Valencia, sipping hotel espresso and wondering why the Wi-Fi didn't recognize her login. I walked into the lobby with my hood up, carrying a plain envelope. I didn't ask for security clearance. I just slid into the elevator with a group of interns holding iced matcha and floor plans. Nobody looked twice at me. Her floor was brighter than I remembered. Sanitized. The scent of expensive toner and fake cheer. I knew where her desk was. Right near the corner window. They had given her that spot last year when she landed the La Carina Cosmetics campaign. I used to be proud of that. Now I saw it for what it was, her launch pad away from me. Her desk was weirdly neat, except for one thing. A black hardcover notebook with a sticker on it that said, "Make them remember." Classic Marla. Drama queen energy in bullet journal form. I wasn't going to take anything. But curiosity won. I flipped through the pages fast, fingers trembling. Inside were notes. Not work notes. Personal ones. Lyle, narrative management. Guilt strategy, test with mom illness angle. If things blow up, deny everything. Then ghost for a few days, he folds fast. I read those lines in a haze, like I was watching someone else read them. I didn't feel anger. I felt confirmation. She had weaponized my kindness. Diagrammed my empathy like it was a software glitch to be exploited. In that moment, I didn't need revenge. I just needed to erase myself from her entire structure. Quietly. Permanently. So I left something behind. I took the envelope out of my coat. Inside it were copies of everything. Screenshots. Hotel confirmations. The Google Doc where she scripted our conversations. Printouts of Carter's billing info. Even the Miami itinerary. I didn't leave a note. Just the evidence. I slid it neatly into her desk drawer. The one with the loose handle she always meant to fix. The same drawer where she once kept a framed photo of us from Portland. Now it held a time bomb. Not the kind that explodes. The kind that waits. By the time she returned to work, I'd be gone. Not missing. Not off the grid. Just gone from her life. No shouting match. No emotional monologue. No last chance dinner. Just silence and consequence. I stepped into the elevator, heart strangely calm, and descended back into a world where nobody knew my name. And for the first time in years, that felt like freedom. I didn't need closure. I needed distance. And I was finally getting it. I thought the worst was over. I thought walking out of her office, leaving that folder behind, disconnecting my accounts, and watching her messages go from smug to frantic meant I was finally free. But that's the thing about cutting off someone who manipulates for sport. They don't accept silence. They demand control. And when they lose it, they reach for the closest weapon. In my case, that was my sister. It started with a missed call from Erin, my younger sister, and one of the only people in my life who still asked how I was doing without expecting a neat answer. I hadn't told her everything, just the basics. That I was out. That things with Marla had gone nuclear. She didn't press. She just told me I could crash at her place anytime, even if I needed to talk at 3 a.m., with a grocery store cake between us like we were 15 again. So when I saw that missed call from her on Sunday night, followed by a text that just said, "You need to call me now," I felt it. That creeping cold that starts at the base of your spine. I called her back immediately. She answered on the first ring. No hello. Just, "Why the hell is Marla telling people you had a breakdown?" My chest tightened. What? She called me, Lyle. Out of nowhere. She said she was worried about you. That you were spiraling again and pulling away from your support system. She said she's trying to help you, but you're shutting everyone out, and her voice cracked. She said you might hurt yourself. I sat down on the motel carpet, dizzy. It was the cheapest kind of manipulation, and somehow still the most effective. She didn't call to reconnect. She called to discredit me, to get ahead of the story, to make sure if anyone asked questions, she looked like the concerned spouse, and I looked like a cautionary tale. I told Erin everything, not in vague phrases, not in metaphors. I told her about Carter, about the Miami trip, about the fake consulting project and the notes I found, about the document where Marla literally drafted how to gaslight me. Erin didn't interrupt once. She just breathed like she was trying not to throw her phone through a window. At the end, she said, "Lyle, she is dangerous. Like seriously dangerous. And I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying that so you stop playing nice." She was right. Because even as I tried to disappear cleanly, no revenge, no public shaming, Marla was setting fires behind me. And if I wasn't careful, she'd rewrite the entire narrative while I was busy healing. So I made one more list. Not a list of lies. A list of witnesses. People she had lied to. People she had manipulated. Co-workers she had stepped over. Friends she had ghosted the moment they stopped being useful. Clients she had burned. I knew about them all. Quietly. Silently. From the sidelines. Like a man who'd been watching a chess game he was never invited to play. I wasn't planning to expose her. I wasn't planning anything grand. But I was done playing invisible. If she wanted to rewrite the story, fine. She'd just have to write around the parts of me that wouldn't disappear. And I wasn't finished yet. 2 weeks passed. No drama. No explosions. Just silence. The kind that feels like waking up after a storm and realizing the house is still standing, even if a few windows are cracked. I didn't go back. I didn't answer her texts. After she called my sister and tried to spin her narrative, I blocked her on everything. I thought there'd be a final confrontation. A long, painful conversation with shaking voices and mascara tears, and how could you? And why didn't you fight for us? But it never came. I think she realized the game was over the moment she found her drawer empty and her calendar filled with absence. I think that scared her more than any fight could have. She didn't cry. She posted a selfie with Carter 3 days later. Miami sunset. 2 wine glasses. Caption: New chapters always start with gratitude sparkles. Classic. It didn't hurt the way I thought it would. It felt predictable. Like watching the final scene of a movie you knew wouldn't end well. But what I didn't expect was how quickly the fog in my brain started to lift. I moved into a small one-bedroom near a lake trail. Nothing fancy, just peace. I unpacked my boxes slowly. No pressure, no schedule. For the first time in years, I had space in the closet. Not just literally, mentally. I started cooking again. Badly at first. Burned rice, under-seasoned everything. But I didn't mind. I wasn't cooking to impress. I was cooking to exist again. Erin visited once a week, usually with donuts and unsolicited pep talks. We'd walk the trail and make up fake names for the ducks. She made me promise I'd go back to therapy. I kept that promise. Funny thing is, I never told anyone the full story. Not even her. Not out of shame, just because I didn't need to carry it anymore. I had put it down. And then last week, something happened. I met someone. Not in a rom-com way. Not in a poetic, bookshop aisle kind of way. She was the barista at the weird cafe with the overly complicated loyalty system. Her name's Ren. She wears chipped nail polish and tells people exactly how much she dislikes TikTok trends. The first time we spoke, it was about how terrible their cold brew is. The second time, she remembered my name without asking. She doesn't know anything about Marla. And I don't lead with that part of my life anymore. Because it's not who I am now. I'm not healed. I'm not whole. But I'm no longer waiting to be fixed. I'm free. Not because I left her. Because I finally chose myself. And for the first time in a long, long time. That's enough.